She ended things with me, adding that we'd stay buddies forever. I responded, sure thing. Weeks passed, and she discovered that being pals didn't mean free rent, therapy sessions, or fixing her vehicle, especially after I began seeing her housemate. My 2-year romance concluded on a Tuesday evening. It wasn't explosive yelling or a weepy showdown. It was subdued, superior, and wrapped up with the most demeaning line anyone can utter. We'll stay buddies forever, though? My former girlfriend, Amber, had been aloof for weeks. She's a painter, or that's her label for it. Mostly, it involves a part-time gig at a cafe, endless chatter about the book she'll pen eventually, and sneering at folks like me who earn a real paycheck. I run a modest shop refurbishing vintage autos. I use my hands for work. To her and her snooty art crowd, that branded me basic. Dependable, but basic. A solid chair in the den that you ignore after placing it there. That evening, she had me sit on the sofa in our flat, a flat where my earnings handled roughly 80% of the costs, and delivered her monologue. She'd obviously rehearsed it. It was packed with fuzzy babble about feeding her imaginative spirit and feeling trapped in our bond. The underlying message screamed out. I, with my oil-smudged fingers and my straightforward thinking, wasn't thrilling enough for her lofty creative future. I didn't fight back. I didn't beg her to reconsider. I'm a gearhead. When a motor is kaput, you don't negotiate with it. You acknowledge the damage and either overhaul it or junk it. And this bond was wrecked beyond repair. So I just remained seated, hearing her out, as she outlined her exit strategy from my world. And then arrived the ultimate, belittling jab. She placed her palm on my thigh, her face a flawless mix of sympathy and arrogance. We'll stay buddies forever, though, okay? She uttered, like she was granting a huge favor. She figured I'd be thankful. She figured I'd agree, thrilled to linger in her circle as a non-romantic, trusty tool. The always reliable Jake, ready to tune her ride or chip in for expenses, but now free of any tangled partner demands. In that instant, something clicked in my mind. The pain and letdown I could have experienced vanished, swapped for a sharp, firm resolve. She wasn't splitting with a lover. She was downgrading a resource. I gazed at her flawlessly calm, earnest-seeming expression, and offered a gradual, steady grin. Sure thing, I replied. The ease that swept over her was obvious. She'd pulled it off. She'd claimed her liberty, but she'd secured her backup plan. She had no clue that my version of buddyhood was set to become a brutal and pricey wake-up for her. Great, she responded, her grin now real. I'm relieved you're handling this so grown-up. Naturally, I said, rising from the sofa. That's what pals do. So, as your fresh pal, allow me to offer some pal advice. You ought to begin hunting for a housemate to handle my rent share, since I'll be vacating this weekend. My palship is gratis, but my bill portion isn't. The grin on her face didn't merely dim. It crumbled. Huh, you're vacating? But you can't. What about me? Not certain, I replied, heading to the bedroom to begin gathering stuff. But I'm confident a clever painter like you will sort it out. Pals trust in one another, yeah? Update 1. The idea of me truly departing was beyond Amber's mind to process. For the following hour, she trailed me room to room as I began collecting my belongings, her pleas rising from bewilderment to alarm to full-blown fury. You can't simply ditch me here, she declared, as I yanked my garments from our shared wardrobe. The agreement lists both names. You're bound by law. You're correct, I said, maintaining my pace. We both are bound, which explains why I'll keep covering my half of rent till month's end. That provides you roughly 3.5 weeks to locate a fresh housemate for my slot. Or we can terminate the agreement jointly, incurring a $2,000 fee we'd divide. I'm fine with whichever. Your call. The reference to a $1,000 fee, cash she definitely lacked, sparked another surge of alarm on her face. Her part-time role was for what she dubbed Muse funds, sufficient for her routine lattes and paint supplies. I was the one managing real living expenses. I can't swing that, and I can't snag a housemate in 3 weeks. You must remain, Jake, minimum till the agreement ends in 6 months. It's the right move. We're pals, recall? Pals don't compel pals to dwell in a tense, feeling-laden space, I said, stopping to face her. That'd be toxic. As your pal, I'm providing the room you require to discover yourself. And I'm claiming mine too. Right then, our third housemate, Maya, arrived home. Maya was a vet tech who occupied the flat's tiny second room. She was reserved, pulled crazy shifts, and usually aimed to dodge Amber's ongoing mild chaos as much as possible. She entered, glanced at my unpacked bag and Amber's tear-stained, enraged expression, and merely exhaled. "Let me guess," she said, her tone exhausted. Her ride failed once more? Worse, Amber sobbed, pivoting to her for backup. "He's abandoning me. He's vacating." Maya's gaze locked with mine above Amber's head. I offered a minor, weary shrug. "We split," I clarified. "I'm grabbing my stuff. I'm covered through month's end. Afterward, you'll have a fresh housemate." Maya's look was blank, but she nodded slowly, purposefully. "All right," she said. Then, sans another word, she slipped into her room and shut the door. She was an expert at staying out of it. Amber, robbed of a supporter, dedicated the weekend's remainder to every trick in her playbook. She wept. She recalled our initial outing. She labeled me a frigid, cruel beast. I ignored the hooks. I simply continued packing. My replies always ran through the novel, maddeningly unhelpful filter of our palship. "You're truly discarding 2 years of moments?" She'd sob. "As your pal, I believe it's key to eye the ahead, not the behind." I'd answer, my tone packed with peaceful, detached calm. The initial true trial of our updated setup arrived the next week. I'd shifted my belongings to a compact, short-term flat and was building my fresh start. I received a ring from her on a Tuesday night. "Jake, thank goodness you picked up," she said, her voice a hurried murmur. "The lights cut out and the web's gone. You must come fix it." "Did you inspect the fuse panel?" I inquired. "The what?" "I haven't a clue about that. You always managed it." "The fuse panel's in the hall storage closet," I described calmly. "Likely a flipped breaker. Just spot the misaligned one and reset it." "I'm not touching that. It's pitch black and I'm frightened. What if I zap myself?" "You need to head over, please, Jake, as my pal." There it was, the pal card. I inhaled deeply. "Amber, as your pal, I'm worried for your well-being, but I'm 2 towns off." It'd take an hour to arrive. The quickest fix is ringing the building's urgent repair line. That's its purpose. They've got staff on duty round the clock. The number's on the fridge. A beat of shocked quiet hit the line. She was accustomed to me as her personal fix-it guy that the notion of a standard fix never crossed her mind. "But they'll bill for that, right?" she asked, her voice tiny. "Possibly," I said. "But as your pal, I reckon your security and ease are worth it, agree? You've got this. Update me on progress." I ended the call before she could push. The rings and messages persisted, naturally. A couple days on, it was her ride making odd sounds. I suggested a trusted gearhead. When she griped about expense, I, as a pal, suggested opening a repair fund. Every issue she hit, an issue I'd have once fixed instinctively, now faced a barrier of serene, pal-like, and completely worthless guidance. I was her pal, and pals, I was showing her, don't resolve your messes for you. They merely encourage and hope for the best. Update 2, the gradual unraveling of Amber's world, rolled on for the following month, and I had prime viewing courtesy of my novel, Unexpected Alliance with Maya. Post my exit, Maya and I began messaging. It kicked off as a kind of Warzone update swap. She'd alert me to Amber's epic tantrums, and I'd send condolences. I discovered Amber's housemate hunt was a total flop. She wasn't seeking a rent splitter, she was seeking a new me. Her listing was a demand catalog. The fresh housemate needed to be tidy, low-key, solvent, and open to pitching in on chores. She was basically advertising for a live-in partner who'd also fund her lifestyle. Predictably, 0 bites. One night, Maya messaged me, more frazzled than normal. Her pup, a shaggy terrier blend called Buster, was ill. He was sluggish and off food, and she was freaking out. The after-hours vet was across town, and she dreaded bussing him. Amber's off with some fresh dudes from a verse event, she messaged. No idea who else to ping. I didn't hesitate. En route, I replied. I drove her and Buster to the clinic. We killed the next 4 hours in the lobby, chatting about all and sundry. She shared the grind of law studies, and I described the joy of reviving an old auto with my skills. We found we shared the same wry wit, the same practical vibe on life. By the vet's exit and news that Buster would pull through, he'd swallowed a sock. Something had changed between us. I began creating more reasons to see her. I volunteered to tune her own ride, a rundown sedan in worse condition than Amber's. I passed a Saturday noon under her hood, swapping oil and plugs. I charged nothing. I did it because I chose to. Because I enjoyed her. We began seeing each other, low profile initially. It was effortless. It was enjoyable. No theatrics, no games, just two folks who truly liked hanging out. We hit it. We knew Amber discovering would spark a massive storm of chaos. The unavoidable clash hit about 2 months post my split with Amber. She'd finally, amazingly, snagged a new housemate. A young grad kid who was plainly just needy for housing. I needed to visit the flat to ink docs removing my name from the agreement. Maya had wrapped her semester's last test, so I said I'd treat her to a celebration after. She opted to tag along to the flat so we could head out from there. The living room vibe was charged. The property boss was present, with the new housemate, who already seemed to regret it. Amber was fake chipper, loudly discussing her fresh phase and how all occurs for a purpose. As I inked the last paper, freeing me from any ongoing flat duties, Maya, beside me, grabbed my hand and squeezed. A tiny show of backing, but to Amber it was battle lines. Her gaze, flitting with frantic phony pep, fixed on our linked hands. The forced grin froze, then splintered. It was like seeing a barrier burst gradually. Her face paled, and her eyes brimmed with a deep, poisonous sense of stab in the back that genuinely caught me off guard. She'd forfeited her guy, her money source, her fixer, and her vent target. And now, she witnessed him swapped, in her own space, by the low-key, overlooked housemate she'd barely acknowledged. She didn't yell. She didn't weep. She just fixated on her hands. And in that second, I believe she grasped the complete, crushing price of her buddyhood. Final update. It's been over a year since I left that flat for good. My path, and Amber's, have diverged on the routes she was so keen to chase. After the doc signing moment, Amber's existence totally imploded. Her new housemate, the grad kid, endured precisely 6 weeks. He vanished midnight, leaving a scribble saying he'd prefer his vehicle to another day there. Incapable of solo rent, Amber got booted. The latest Maya knew, she'd had to crash with her folks in a tiny burg 3 hours off. Her big, creative city dream was done. Her self-find quest had circled back to her teen room. Her bid to trash-talk me and Maya bombed hard. She'd burned too many bridges. All knew she'd initiated the split. Her tale of wronged, shattered victim found no listeners. For me, my days have never been stronger. Maya and I now share a modest home I purchased across town, with a large yard for Buster and a double garage for my builds. She aced the bar and is a starter lawyer at a central firm. We're a unit, a real duo. We divide costs, share tasks, and boost each other's goals sans any grudge or rivalry. It's the smoothest, most organic bond I've known. My payback was never a grand scheme. It was just a steady, firm decline to join her play. She craved buddyhood? Okay, I was the top buddy possible. I gave endless tips and zero real aid. I merely upheld the fresh limits she'd set and let her face the raw, unchecked results of her picks. I exited the provider spot and her world, erected wholly on that base, caved in. Then I crafted a superior one, with a superior partner, right in her view. And that, it seems, is the most fulfilling sort of buddyhood around.